Welcome to the River is Lit podcast, the podcast to accompany Medway River Lit, a literary festival for Medway.
Won't you come down, won't you come down, won't you come down to Chatham Town? Oh, won't you come down, won't you come down, won't you come down to Chatham Town?
Hello, I'm BFH, poet and man in the library.
Hi, I'm Sam Hall, playwright turned graphic novelist.
I'm AMJ. I like writing lists and glimmer questing.
And we are the Medway River Lit team. We're Wordsmithery, a literary organisation working in Medway for the past 10 years. Last year, we were commissioned by Medway Council to produce a new literary festival, Medway River Lit. This year, we're delighted to be bringing it back with a focus on the climate and the things that are happening to it.
In this podcast, we'll be previewing writers and books who are coming to Medway River Lit in November. We'll also be giving a little writing tip at the beginning of the podcast and a moment of greenery, our tip on what you might be able to do to help the planet at the end.
Today's recycled writing tip comes from Margaret Atwood. Every act of writing assumes a future reader. Our first guest today is Michi Masumi, founder of the Black Art Hub, whose art can be seen on the cover and inside the latest issue of Wordsmithery's poetry and fiction magazine, Confluence.
Michi Masumi describes herself as a Phoetrystra. In case you haven't heard of that before, that's a photo poet. And she works as an Arts and Culture Intern, currently a PhD research student at Canterbury Christ Church University, specialising in Black British visual arts and poetry. Her art forms are photography, digital and AI art, poetry and design, and she has collaborated with Intra Arts, Mandinga Arts, Nucleus Arts and Medway Pride. Her projects focus on social concepts versus self-identity through intersectional portraiture, highlighting mental health, addiction, female social struggles, politics and Black British diversity. Michi is also the founder of the Black Art Hub, a non-profit community hub located in Medway. Its aims and purpose is to provide a platform for grassroots Black British visual artists and poets to share experiences and exhibit work, to showcase the rich diversities within the UK's Black communities, and it offers a wealth of support and training and network research and development opportunities. Currently, Michi is coordinating an exciting call-out for a major exhibition of Black art and poetry in September, which will take the form of an arts trail, and we spoke a little bit about that as well. My first question is just if you can tell me a little bit about your background in poetry and art.
Yes. Poetry I've been doing from I was a little girl. And I think I remember as early as maybe 8, 9. It was a way for me to express my feelings. I felt I didn't have a voice as a child. And in difficult times, I was able to go to a place where I was happy and for a few minutes in a day just really feel free. So poetry has been a form of self-expression and reflection. Oh, that's 41 years now. Yeah, with the art and the photography, that's really new. I mean, even I'm still shocked. I've always been creative. I used to sing, knit, make jewelry. So I'm naturally creative, but I was always in awe of other artists because I haven't got a natural ability to draw. So I kind of loved art, but also it's a painful thing when you love something and you can't do it. And I think life just threw a really beautiful wave into my life. It came by accident, photography. I had never taken photographs before. but I love photography and I loved film and movies. And once I got hold of that camera, something changed in me. It was another extension of poetry. I was free. I was able to really showcase how I see the world. 5 years on, I'm self-taught. I've done a bachelor's degree, a master's. I'm in my second year of a PhD. And I think my photography has evolved, and I'm definitely more into the photo art side of things. I work really closely with poetry, so I do a form of poetry. I write quite raw, and I do that because I'm tired of hiding. Everybody has to hide who they are, and I find that puts a weight on my mental health. And so now I'm starting to be really honest and say, look, I'm only human. I've done some things, but I stand up and own them, and I'm improving. But also I've done some brilliant things, and I should celebrate that joy with others.
Oh yeah, totally, yeah. So could you tell me a bit about what inspired you to set up the Black Art Hub? And for anyone that hasn't maybe heard about it, can you explain what it is?
Yeah, so the Black Art Hub really came around because as a Black artist and photographer, I should say, I would say that the industry is still riddled with institutionalized racism. I think it is subconscious in many ways. It's very rarely is it blatant in your face. In the art industry, it's not. It's very subtle. They do it in a way where it wears you down. Some places are making a concerted effort, but what they've done it again in a form of hierarchy. So we have some wonderful British institutes that are doing some great work showcasing Black artists, Black British artists as well, and poets. But what they're doing, they're dictating what the trend is and the style of that Black art. And what that does, that leaves a lot of grassroots artists in the Black community and poets lost. We have to have a space where we celebrate the diversity in the Black community amongst artists and poets. The stereotyping is frustrating. You know, when I show my work, they haven't a clue about another artist, photographer, or poet to compare my work to most of the time, not all of the time.
Mm.
The Black Art Hub here is really here because we need a platform. If we want our work to be inclusive, if we're saying we want it more accessible, if we're saying Black art is for everyone, regardless of your race, your gender, your sexuality and that, and we're not getting it from the institutions, then we need to do it ourselves. And that's what it's about. It's about being proactive. The Black Art Hub is about researching. So researching different aspects of art, but from a Black perspective or intersectional perspective. And what I'm hoping is that the Black Art Hub allows the artists and poets to network, talk to each other. I'm hoping they will develop, some will be short relationships, some will be long. But if we meet each other and we know more about what's going on in our community through arts and poetry, it can only encourage us and it can only inspire us and it can only make the art better and hopefully make the visibility and the accessibility better. The end goal of the Black Art Hub is that we need to get to a stage where we have British art or British poetry is out there, and the whole of the UK and the world understands that that can include Asian art, that can include African art, but it's British, Black British African art. Because at the moment we're segregated by our race, and that comes from the industry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm encouraging Black British artists and poets to come along and join us for a wonderful exhibition and a little art trail. And that's in Medway in Kent. and we will be showcasing different types of visual arts, short films, short videos, alongside poems, which will be done as visual reels, and some of them will be displayed as wall hangings. And it's really celebrating the diversity of Black British people and their art and their literature, really. And I'm hoping what it does, it shows the range, the richness. The Black Art Hub, to be clear, is not about segregating our art. It's not about saying we're anti anyone. It's not about saying Black is the best. What it's about is showing off. We're proud that the hub, the research work that we're doing at the moment, we're looking at AI and how it represents the Black community. We do development. So at the moment, we're doing the A to Z to exhibiting. We're doing some photographic workshops that will include showcasing how to light Black models in a studio setting. We're doing the same with the poetry. In regards to the exhibition, we've got 5 venues across Medway, and these venues include Nucleus Arts, which is part of the Halpin Foundation, Intra Arts on Old Intra High Street in Medway. We've got Blueberry Lounge in Chatham High Street. We also have number 64 Coffee and Brunch who are participating. And I do believe we're also working with Sun Pier House in Medway. So what we're doing is celebrating. We would love as many people to come along. We want to open talks and discussions about how we take this exhibition further, so we can reach more people and maybe have a few more venues in the future.
And you're looking for volunteers too, aren't you, for the for like helping run the exhibition?
Yes, we are. We're very excited because I've worked with volunteers for 30 years, and I've been a volunteer, and I'm still a volunteer. And I think it's a very important role in the community. And there's so much that organizations and the volunteers themselves can gain from it. What's wonderful is that it's very flexible. So you get an opportunity to work with an art community. You get some experience in social media content creation. You get to see what it's like to put on an event like an exhibition. You get to meet a rich, vast range of people. And you're participating in something that is joyous and is important. And we would love you to come along and join our team.
Sounds like
excited.
A brilliant opportunity. When does the intersectionality exhibition start, and how do you get involved if you're an artist or a poet that would like to be involved in it?
So it gets started officially on the 16th of September, and it starts at Intra Arts. The whole exhibition finishes on the 30th of October. And we will be showcasing across 5 venues. So if you are an artist or a poet and you want to get involved, the theme, there is no theme. We've called it intersectionality because we don't want to dictate and limit your freedom of creativity by pushing you towards one specific theme. For our first year, we'd like you to just express yourself as you see fit. The only thing we ask, because the whole of the exhibition and the art trail is aimed for families as well, we'd like you to just ensure that you haven't got anything that's explicit. But beside that, please email me at the email address is theblackарthub@gmail.com. Visit our website, which is www.theblackarthub.co.uk. I'll say that again. So that's www.theblackarthub.co.uk. And submit your work, please.
Our second guest is Melissa Todd, a writer and dominatrix, who spoke about her latest book, Americaned, described as Stormy Daniels meets Bill Bryson.
It's an absolute pleasure to be joined by the writer, columnist, and performer Melissa Todd. Thank you so much for joining us today, Melissa. To begin with, no problem. To begin with, could you tell us a little bit about your writing journey? Is it something you've always been interested in, or did you come to it at a later stage?
Yeah, I always wanted to be a writer, really. But then I discovered quite early on that there's no money in it, which has only been confirmed by my latter experiences. So, it's always something I've done, not quite as a hobby. It's always been my passion, but it's not something I ever thought I could pursue professionally, really. Which I think is quite lucky. I think if you try to earn from it, you're sort of hiding to nothing. But yes, it's certainly been my fondest dream from, toddler, really, to write, yeah.
Oh, perfect. And do you have any advice for anyone who's looking to get into writing?
Gosh, just do it, really. Just pick up a pen, I think, and don't wait for the muse to strike, because, she won't come. And read voraciously also. I often find I have my best ideas if I'm reading something, or often if I go to an open mic or something and I'm just listening to other people be creative and interesting. That's the way forward. And try to lead a sort of calm existence. I think it's Gustave Flaubert that said, you have to be calm and orderly in your daily life if you want to be violent and original in your work. So try and be tranquil and not cause drama in your daily life as well, I think.
That's great advice.
But yeah, just do it. I think often if I'm not in the mood, I kind of just trick my brain into doing it by almost like writing shopping lists even, or writing to-do lists, and then start writing how I feel about the to-do list. So, just get into the sort of mechanical effort of just moving your fingers in a writery way. And then suddenly you find 6 hours have passed, if you're lucky, and you've written 5,000 brilliant words. That's the dream anyway. Sometimes it works.
Building blocks, and you fake it till you make it. And by the sounds of it, that's really a great way of doing it. So you mentioned there about being a voracious reader. Is this something again that you've always done? And if at the moment, is there anything in particular you're reading, or do you have any good recommendations for our listeners?
I've just started rereading Barnaby Rudge, actually, which I love. I love Dickens. I love the Victorians. They're not very fashionable, but with all the rioting that's been happening as I'm talking to you, I wanted to read about riots and maybe to write about riots as well. So I often try and choose books that fit in with what I'm trying to write. So I'm also reading Among the Thugs by Bill Burford, I think his name is, which is about football hooliganism in the late 80s, early 90s. Absolutely magnificent piece of work. And Barnaby Rudge also set in the late 18th century about the Gordon riots. Just brilliant, wonderful stuff. I was I got a library card when I was 6 weeks old. I was one of those kids. My mum was really, really keen that I read a lot. And I was only child to a single mum, so I spent an awful lot of time on my own in the library and sort of like playing with her book collection. She had some very odd stuff, completely inappropriate, probably much of it. But reading. She had the complete works of Oscar Wilde for some reason, which I just remember kind of smelling as a kid and just loving, and trying to get my head around that. And then you go to school and they want you to read Peter and Jane. It's like, this is a rubbish narrative. Where's the story of it? It was terribly disappointing.
I'm meant to be looking forward, not feeling like I'm going backwards.
Exactly that. Yeah, exactly. I've been reading, Edgar Allan Poe and stuff at this point. I think, this is Peter, this is Jane, they have a dog. So what? Do they eat the dog? Who cares?
Where are the ravens? We want some ravens in the story.
Rubbish.
Excellent. And we're really excited that you're going to be coming to Medway Rivulet in November and talking about Americaned. So we're just asking, without giving too much away, would you be able to tell me a little bit about it, what inspired it?
Yes, I was asked to go to Boston in Massachusetts and then to make a massive film with about 9 other women. And then a month later, I was asked to be in Texas to give a lecture on birching at a huge spanking convention. So I thought, well, I can't just fly between the two, like I'm commuting to Sittingbourne. I've just got to stay in America for a month. And even though my job as a model does involve quite a lot of traveling, I've never been away from home for a month. And I found the idea kind of horrific because I'm quite a homebod and I love my cats and my husband and my bed. But also, I said the cat before the husband. I'm sorry, I won't let him listen to this. But
I'll see if we can edit it the other way round.
Oh, bless you, thank you for that. So I found the idea quite exciting, but also terrifying. I thought, well, why not? And I could just travel down the whole east coast of America. It's about 1,800 miles. and see loads of things I always wanted to see, like New York and Tennessee and Atlanta and New Orleans, and then wind up in Texas a month later and be fresh as a daisy and ready to be amazing. So that was the idea of it. And I was going to write something quite sort of Bill Bryson-esque. I'm obsessed with Bill Bryson, like everyone else. He's a genius. And it was going to be kind of light-hearted, kooky stuff about, aren't Americans funny? This is what I discovered, and kind of quite journalistic. And then 4 days before I was due to fly out to Boston and make this big film, my mother died. Thank you. She'd been given about a year to live. We knew it was coming. She had lung cancer, but in fact, she lasted not quite 2 weeks. So obviously my whole world collapsed. I say I'm only child to a single mum. I thought, what the hell am I going to do? And everyone's going, well, obviously you don't have to go. You can have bereavement leave. I thought, well, it doesn't work like that in my job. I've been cast in this film. There's 9 other women who've all booked their flights, who are all relying on this film to make their rent. I've just got to go and do this. So I said to the director, please don't tell anybody. I told her what had happened. But if I get any sympathy, I'm just going to fall apart. So she didn't. I kept it to myself. So the book I ended up writing was about processing grief as much as anything. It wasn't nearly as lighthearted as I'd planned and anticipated. It was just about kind of surviving grief and kind of carrying on living and doing your job despite everything you're going through. And as I was writing it, I was thinking, is anyone going to be interested in this? I wasn't sure if I was even going to try and get it published. I thought, is this just like a journal for me to help myself work through my feelings and heal? And I got to the end of it and thought, I don't know, I think there might possibly be something in here that other people might find interesting or useful or something. And the comments I've had so far, people have said, it's your best book ever, which is really nice to hear, it must say. And I'm glad I put it out there, even though it's quite hard to write something so intimate. And I'm actually really quite a private person. Write something that's so incredibly intimate and important to me and put it out there is scary as hell, but I'm glad I did it.
Absolutely. And I think grief is very universal. And I think sometimes we don't talk about it enough. And so I think work like this, and I think probably the caliber of your writing, you've probably done it in a really good way, that just almost when you've got that intimacy and that grief, you can then bring it in with something lighthearted. So I can imagine that there's a really good light and shade that runs throughout the book.
Oh, thank you. That's really what I was hoping for. Yeah, I'd really try not to let it get too bogged down in horror and shove in light moments, because there's light moments in everything. Even in grief, there are moments where you think, this is ridiculous, this is hilarious. And the coroner was trying to get in touch with me, even though my phone didn't work. And I kept saying, please email me, and there's all these women being spanked around me, and I'm desperately trying to listen and understand what she's saying to me, and it's funny. It really is. And you've got to remember that and just keep pushing forward.
It's all part of life's rich tapestry. And did you actually end up going anywhere in America that's really stayed with you? Have you got any favorite places or favorite memories from your time away?
Oh gosh, so many. Oh wow. Well, where didn't I love? I loved Atlanta because I'm obsessed with Gone with the Wind. Of course, Scarlett O'Hara famously lost her mother and went mad and still carried on anyway. So that was really cool. I went to see Margaret Mitchell's house and I saw her grave. That's a huge cemetery in Atlanta, which is really, really famous because they have like slaves buried alongside Confederate soldiers. So it's huge part of history. And while I was there, they were having a Day of the Dead festival, which was just brilliant. There were people, with like cans of beer on their relatives' graves, and they were singing and dancing and mariachi bands. That was awesome. It was like I'd planned it, but I really hadn't. And New Orleans as well. Oh my goodness, what a place. It's such a party town. Everything I'd heard about it and then some. So I had my fortune told there. I danced a lot. There was voodoo. There were a great many cocktails. Just dancing and hugging strangers in the street. Wow, is it like this every day? It's like Christmas here. That was very, very cool. Yeah, I'm desperate to go back now.
Would you be able to share with us what your fortune said when you had your fortune told?
Well, I think she was a little bit the worse for wear, honestly. She said some quite interesting. She said, I can see you're a creative and you're working on a big project at the moment, and it's really important that you go with your own gut and you don't listen too much to other people's advice, and you publish well, she didn't say publish, but you do what's important for you with it, and you trust your instincts. I thought, well, that's not bad advice. And then she said, and now I'm getting sauteed flowers. Okay, well, that still hasn't come true for me, but maybe maybe they are in my future. And then so I can see a woman with sparkly shoes, just as the woman with sparkly shoes walked past, and uncanny.
That is,
you've got the gift.
Excellent. And you say that you're quite a homebody. Was there anything in particular that you missed while you were away, apart from your cat and your husband and your bed?
Oh yeah, I missed the BBC so much. I really, really did. And I missed like British media because it was the midterm elections as well while I was out there, November 2022. And gosh, we think the BBC is biased, but if you turn on Fox News, like, wow, this is extraordinary. So just that kind of like heavyweight political commentary, and maybe it was out there and I didn't find it, but yeah, I really missed that a lot. Yeah, that was the worst of it, really. And British telly and things like that. And oh God, tea, of course, as well. Tea was really hard. I didn't even think I was such a massive tea drinker until I got out there and I found people putting tea bags in with some condensed milk and then putting it in the microwave. No, please don't do that. I'm going to be sick on your kitchen floor.
Yeah. That is quite the way to make a cup of tea, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. And that was in Boston. You'd think they'd know. We've got to invade them again.
Exactly. You would think that out of anywhere in America, they would know better. Excellent. And as a columnist, I believe that you write for Love It magazine. Would you be able to give us a flavour of your columns and where you get your ideas from?
I do. I write a weekly column for Love It magazine, and it's sort of kink themed. So it's usually kind of silly anecdotes from my day job. Actually, this week I've just submitted one about violence, because obviously I've been writing about riots. So why violence feels so good and why it's such a kind of universal thing. Because obviously I do beat people and occasionally make them bleed in the course of my work. And why I quite like that, really, and why they quite like it. So it gets quite heavy and philosophical, really, which is probably not what they anticipated when they hired me. But also I just tell silly anecdotes about the daft things I'm asked to do and wear and stuff. And I write for Kent Online as well, which they don't want any kink at all. So that's quite nice. That's a nice contrast. So I write about, I don't know, Tory leadership contests or whatever. Yeah, anything that's in my head, really. I'm very lucky. There's usually something in my head I can work with. And I've got news. I wonder if I can tell you the news, which is that the Metro are going to start publishing a column from me as well. So yeah, that's really exciting. Thank you very much. Really so we're doing a photo shoot, but it's big, yeah, because they've got like 5 million readers a day. So yeah, hopefully everything's about to go skyrocket into the sky for me.
Oh, wow. Well, they're lucky to have you. I can imagine that'd be a very entertaining read.
Let's see, I'll do my best. Thank you.
It's excellent. So I was actually going to ask what next. So that sounds brilliant. But have you got anything else in the pipeline? Any other books?
Oh, vaguely, yes, maybe there's something happening. Again, I'm really not sure if it's just journaling. I've got about 50,000 words of something. Yeah, don't know yet, really. I don't really talk about it until it's happened. But yeah, I'm writing about something for sure. It's vague. It's called Whore on Tour, which is a really good title, but I'm not sure it's at all relevant to what I'm writing. But yeah, I'd love to. I think I'm just going to keep going until people just tell me to stop.
Also, that you've got a really good attitude to writing, because I am one of these people who always say, oh yeah, I really would love to be a writer, but I never actually do the heavy lifting. I'm like, oh, I'll write an email or I will write a to-do list. But actually the discipline of sitting down and just churning it out and then actually sitting back again and editing and polishing it and shaping it. I mean, I really take my hat off, because I don't think people always realise what it feels like to be at the writing coalface.
Oh, thank you. It's hard. It's ridiculously hard. You know, it's not coal mining, but it feels hard. It's like the hardest thing I do, which is ridiculous and shows how privileged I am. But also I feel like I can't not do it. It's just something I have to do, like breathing. Yeah, whether anyone reads it or not, I just have to keep churning it out. It's kind of how I process the world and my life and feelings and stuff. I just have to scribble about it, whether anyone's reading it or not. So I guess I'm lucky.
Perfect.
Maybe. Might be easier if I didn't write, really. It doesn't do me much good.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Melissa, and we're really looking forward to coming and seeing you at Medway Riverlet in November. So thank you so much.
Thank you, that was great.
It's composition time. This episode, you can win a copy of Americaned, generously donated by Melissa Todd, and issue 16 of Confluence magazine, which features great artwork by Michi Masumi, plus a story by Melissa, as well as a host of other great poetry and stories. To enter, just subscribe to our email newsletter at www.medwayriverlit.co.uk. The winner of last episode's Your Paper Quest package was Stuart from Rochester. Well done, Stuart. It's UK only, over 18. Please see the show notes for full terms and conditions. Good luck.
Well, that's nearly it. Thank you to our guests, Michi and Melissa. But we just have time to hit you with a rundown of Medway literary events on the run-up to Medway Riverlit. This coming Tuesday, August the 20th, the fabulous Mama G will be at not one, but 2 Medway libraries, storytelling for the kids. At 10 a.m, she's at Twiddle Library, which you can find at 13 to 15 Twiddle Green, ME8 6JY. Then at 1 p.m, she'll be over at Hempstead Library, which you can find on Hempstead Road, ME7 3QG. You can book that via the Medway Library's website, and also you can call 01634 337799, and you can do it that way. On Saturday, the 31st of August at 6 p.m, the Medway Poetry Night is back, with a headline performance by Charlotte Ansell, one of Medway's very best. And you can find all that at Turaka, 218 High Street, Medway, ME4 4AN. Tickets are necessary for that one, and you can get them from www.medwaypoetrynight.com. And as mentioned earlier in the podcast, from the 16th of September all the way through to November, the Black Art Hub, art and poetry trail entitled Intersectionality, will be on show at various Chatham venues. Find out more at www.theblackarthub.co.uk. And finally, on Thursday, September 26th at 8 p.m, our old friends Big Trouble will be featuring the very talented Albie Stockley. And that will be at Rams Micro Pub 12 Degrees, 352 Rochester High Street, ME1 1DJ. For tickets for that one, just find Big Trouble on Facebook. So, that's plenty to keep you happy for the next couple of months, innit?
Today's moment of greenery. Did you know that you can recycle your small electricals and old batteries at Medway Libraries?
Well, that's it for today. This podcast was produced by Sam Hall and hosted by me, Barry Fentiman Hall, and Anne-Marie Jordan. Thanks to our sponsors, Your Paper Quest and Medway Council. And also many thanks to Stuart Turner for letting us use Chatham Town from his 2016 album Abdication House. Find out more about Medway Riverlit on our website, www.medwayriverlit.co.uk. That's www.medwayriverlit.co.uk. Follow Instagram, Medway Riverlit 2024, and Facebook, just plain old Medway Riverlit. You can hear more podcasts on our Wordsmithery SoundCloud page. So, the river is lit. Thanks for listening.